Hello everyone. So we'll be continuing with the fixed prosthodontic topics. Today we'll be discussing about complete and partial veneer crowns. All the important topics are highlighted and kindly pay more attention in those region. So let's get started. Myself, Dr. Nikita Narayanan. I have referred Rosenstiel and Schillenberg for these discussions. So you can go back and refer the books if you want. Full veneer crown. It's also known as complete crown, jacket crown, or full coverage crown. So it's a restoration that covers all the coronal tooth surfaces, that is the mesial, distal, facial, lingual and occlusal surface. So for a full veneer restoration, all the surfaces of a tooth will be prepared and a restoration will be given on top of the tooth. The indications for full veneer crowns are presence of extensive caries, that is caries involving all the surfaces of a tooth, then large defective restoration, endodontically treated teeth which will be weaker compared to a vital tooth, then a fractured tooth with short clinical crown where retention and resistance is compromised, and in cases of long span FPD where the occlusal forces and the biomechanical movements are more. So in all these cases we will be having a full veneer restoration. So contraindications for full veneer crown or a complete coverage crown are: first one is young adults with large pulp chambers. So in such cases, when we try to do a tooth preparation to accommodate a crown, we end up with involving the pulp, that is there can be pulpal injury. Or if we try to preserve the pulp and do minimal preparation, then that leads to over contoured restoration. Or if it is a full ceramic restoration, then the porcelain is brittle and it causes fracture of the restoration. So in such cases, we contraindicate full veneer crowns. Next is patients with poor oral hygiene or uncontrolled caries. So in such cases also a full veneer restoration is contraindicated unless and until the existing disease is treated. That is, if once the caries is completely treated, then we can go ahead with the restoration. Now the advantages of a full veneer restoration is it gives excellent retention and resistance because we are taking support from all the surfaces of the tooth. So the retention and resistance will be good as the surface area is more. And then alteration in tooth form and occlusion is possible. Again, because we are able to modify the tooth structure, modify the preparation according to the existing dentition, however we want the end result, it is possible to alter the tooth as well as the occlusion. So these are some of the advantages of a full veneer crown. Disadvantages of a complete crown are obviously an extensive tooth preparation is required because all the surfaces of a tooth is being prepared to accommodate a crown. So it's not a conservative form of treatment. So that is one disadvantage. Then the margins of the restoration, these are close to the gingiva. So what happens is, if it is not taken care properly, if oral hygiene is not maintained properly, then that leads to further accumulation of plaque and rise to periodontal problems. Let's see what are the different types of full veneer restorations available. So based on the type of material, it can be metal ceramic or porcelain fused to metal restoration, all metal restoration, all ceramic restoration, metal with resin veneered restoration, and an all acrylic restoration. So from the images you can see that metal ceramic restoration will have a metal core and a ceramic veneer on top of it. And all metal restoration, that is the second image, is completely metal from inside and outside. And all ceramic restoration, the core as well as the veneering ceramic. Veneering means the one which is on top of the core. Both of them will be ceramic. So there won't be any metal part in all ceramic restoration. Metal with resin veneered restoration is similar to PFM. That is, there will be a metal core and instead of ceramic veneer, we are using resin veneer. Resin was acrylic. And then there is an all acrylic restoration, which is completely made up of acrylic material. There is no metal or ceramic in it. So now let's discuss in detail about all metal crowns. As I told you earlier, all metal crown is made up of metal. There is no acrylic or ceramic veneer on top of it. Whatever is visible is made up of metal. The core and all the clinically visible part is in metal. So these cannot be used for anterior restoration because it is non-aesthetic. So we usually prefer it for posterior restoration. The alloys used for all metal crowns are noble metal alloy as well as base metal alloys. So the noble metal alloys include gold and non-gold based alloys, and base metal alloys are nickel based and cobalt based alloys. Among this, gold based alloys are more commonly used. Gold alloys are mainly classified into 4 types based on the hardness. Type 1 being soft, type 2 is medium, type 3 is hard, and type 4 is extra hard. In this, type 1 is mainly used in cases where the restoration is subjected to very slight stress, such as inlays. Medium type of gold alloy can be used for onlays where there is moderate stress. Type 3 is commonly used for crowns and short span FPDs. Whereas type 4, which is the extra hard gold alloy, it's used in cases of long span FPDs, RPDs, then post and coarse and thin veneer crowns. Type 3 and type 4 are used in FPDs. Next is metal ceramic crowns. Actually, metal ceramic crown itself is a separate chapter and that will be dealt in detail in the next class. Here I am just giving you a brief idea about the metal ceramic crowns. So basically this is also called as porcelain fused to metal. That is, there will be a metal core and a ceramic layer on top of it. The core is made of metal which is very thin, and the core actually fits to the tooth preparation. So this can be of 2 types. There is a complete ceramic coverage and there is a ceramic facing crown. So in complete ceramic coverage, all the surfaces of the crown will be layered with ceramic. But in ceramic facing crowns, only the buccal or the labial surface which is visible outside, only that surface is layered with ceramic. All other surfaces will be in metal. So only for aesthetic reason, the ceramic facing is or the ceramic layering is done. Now let's discuss about all ceramic crowns. So all ceramic crowns is also known as metal-free ceramics. This is because all the components of the restoration is made out of ceramics. Earlier in PFM we saw the core is made out of metal and the layering or the veneer is made out of ceramic. But in cases of all ceramic crowns, the core is made of ceramic and the veneer is also made out of ceramic. So this is the most aesthetic kind of a restoration. Now let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of this restoration. Advantages being, first, obviously it's aesthetic. Next, it has excellent tissue response. That is, the tissues can take up a ceramic crown more efficiently than a metal crown. Third one is, since there is no metal content in it, there is no allergy due to a ceramic crown. The disadvantages being, first one is it requires extensive tooth preparation. Compared to a metal crown, a ceramic crown will require more tooth preparation to accommodate the restoration. This is because the ceramic is a brittle material, and if sufficient tooth preparation is not done, it leads to fracture of the restoration. Then the strength of a all ceramic restoration is comparatively less than a metal ceramic restoration. In metal ceramic, since the metal is there as a substructure, it can hold on to more heavier occlusal forces. But since in all ceramic, the compressive strength is comparatively less. Then an important part to be noted is, for an all ceramic restoration, it should have the preparation as long as possible in order to give maximum support for the porcelain. If the preparation is not long or if it is over shortened, it leads to a phenomenon called as half moon fracture, which is visible in the labiogingival area of the restoration. Various methods of fabricating all ceramic crowns are powder slurry, casting, slip casting, heat press and CAD-CAM. So in powder slurry, we get the powdered ceramic and modeling liquid. So we'll be mixing the powder and liquid and then we'll be firing it. So when we fire, we get the core porcelain. So on top of the core porcelain, we layer or add the veneering porcelain and we'll get the restoration. In casting, we do the same procedure as we do for a metal. So that is loss wax technique, where we make an impression, make dye, add a wax pattern, and we'll be investing the wax pattern to get a mold, and the molten ceramic will be added onto the mold, and the ceramic will take up the shape of the mold. In slip casting, we use a porous dye, usually a gypsum dye, and a slurry of the ceramic will be applied on top of the dye. And once the ceramic is applied, we'll be firing the ceramic, and on top of the fired ceramic, we'll add glass particles, and which will be fired again and sintered. The next procedure is heat pressing. So here we use ceramic blocks. So the ceramic block will be heated and then it will be flown into a mold which is prepared. Hydrostatic pressure will be applied, which causes the ceramic to take up the shape of the mold. The last one is CAD-CAM. So here we use CAD-CAM software to digitally fabricate the ceramic. So these are the different reduction required for a preparation based on the type of restorative material. For an all metal restoration, the reduction will be 1.5 mm for the functional cusp and 1 mm for the non-functional cusp. For a PFM restoration, that is, here we are discussing about ceramic facing restoration. So the ceramic facing is given only on the buccal surface. So the functional cusp, for example, for the lower molar, the functional cusp is the buccal cusp. So if we are giving a PFM restoration with ceramic facing, then the buccal cusp will come in ceramic. So in such cases, we should have a reduction of 1.5 mm. But if for the upper molar, the functional cusp is palatal cusp. There, the ceramic facing is not given. So in such cases, when the restoration is only in metal, then the reduction will be 1 mm. Similarly for non-functional cusp, that is, the non-functional cusp of upper tooth is buccal. So for upper molar, if you are giving a ceramic facing restoration, the non-functional cusp will come in ceramic. There will be metal and ceramic. So the reduction required is 1.5 mm. But for lower molar, the non-functional cusp, that is the lingual cusp, there is no ceramic on the lingual side. So the reduction required is 1 mm. For an all ceramic restoration, the overall reduction will be 1.5 to 2 mm. Usually all ceramic restorations are given in anterior region. So the incisal reduction will be 1.5 to 2 mm. And the finish lines which we give for all metal restoration will be chamfer. And wherever there is ceramic, the finish line will be shoulder. So in ceramic facing restoration, buccal side there will be ceramic. So the finish line on buccal side will be shoulder. Wherever there is metal, the finish line should be chamfer. So in ceramic facing, the lingual side will be chamfer. And in PFM restoration, if it is a full coverage ceramic restoration, then the reduction and the finish line will be same as that of all ceramic restorations. Next type of complete veneer crown is a resin veneered crown. It's similar to PFM with ceramic facing. Instead of ceramic, here it is resin facing. That is, the facial and buccal surface of the restoration will be layered with resin. Unlike your ceramic restoration, that is the metal ceramic restoration, in metal ceramic restoration, the bond between metal and ceramic is obtained by chemical method. But here, there is no chemical bond between resin and metal. The connection between resin and metal is completely mechanical. So for that we'll have to incorporate some kind of mechanical retentive weights in the metal so that the resin can stick on to the metal. These are small wire loops or retentive beads. So the resin will get hold of these wire loops and retentive beads and gets attached to the metal and act as a resin veneer. And also in ceramic facing, the incisal edge of the restoration will be covered in ceramic. But here in resin veneered crown, the incisal edge is not covered in resin. The incisal edge will be in metal and all the occlusal contacts will be on metal. This is because the resin is subjected to wear and tear. So we don't want any kind of wear on the restoration. So we give all the occlusal contacts on the metal. The last type of complete coverage crown are all acrylic crowns. So here there is no metal or ceramic component. The whole crown is made out of acrylics. So acrylic resin or composite or fiber reinforced composites are commonly used for all acrylic crowns. So these can be used as a long-term provisional restoration or a short-term provisional restorations. This is because the strength of the material is inferior to your ceramics or metal. We cannot use it in long span cases and for long duration also. That's all about complete coverage crowns. All ceramic and metal ceramic crowns will be dealt in detail in the coming classes. Now we'll start with partial veneer crowns. So in complete coverage crowns, we saw that all the surfaces of the tooth will be prepared for the restoration. But in partial veneer crowns, one surface will be left intact. The rest of the surfaces of the tooth will be prepared and the restoration will be given only for the prepared surfaces. One surface will be left intact, that usually will be a facial surface or a buccal surface. So this is a conservative type of restoration because we are not involving all the surfaces. So ideally this type of partial veneer crowns should be considered first when a cast restoration is needed. So this should be the first choice before the complete coverage crowns. So the indications for partial veneer crown are tooth which has a minimal loss of tooth structure and with an intact buccal wall, and a crown with normal form, good crown height. It can be used as a retainer for short span FPD and resin bonded FPDs. So contraindications for a partial veneer crowns are: first one is short clinical crowns. In a partial veneer crown, the preparation is not done on all surfaces. One surface is left intact. So the amount of support it receives from the preparation is also less. So if the crown height is not sufficient, then the surface area is decreased. Also, it cannot interfere with the arc of displacement. So there will be less retention. So a partial veneer crown cannot be given for short clinical crowns and also in extensively damaged tooth. In endodontically treated tooth, the crown will not be able to withstand the occlusal forces that is being subjected because the tooth itself is weak, and also there can be damage to the coronal tooth structure. So in such cases, a partial veneer crown cannot be given. It cannot be used as a retainer for long span FPDs. Again, it won't be able to withstand the occlusal forces. In cases of poorly aligned abutment, the partial veneer crowns cannot alter the tooth form. So that if the abutments are not aligned properly, it will be difficult to give a partial veneer crown. Also in cases with active caries and periodontal disease, unless and until the disease is treated and cured, none of the restorations can be given. So these are the contraindications for partial veneer crown. Now let's see what are the advantages of a partial veneer crown. First and foremost, it's conservation of tooth structure. The facial or buccal surface is left intact. So there is conservation of tooth structure, and also there is minimal injury to pulp and periodontal tissues. And since the facial surface is left intact, it allows for electric pulp testing, which is impossible in cases of a full veneer crown which covers all the surfaces. In partial veneer crown, it has easy access to margin for finishing and cleaning, and also it allows for escape of cement and provides good seating of the restoration. Disadvantages of a partial veneer crown compared to a full veneer crown are decreased resistance and retention. There can be some metal which is displayed in completed restoration. It is not indicated in cases of non-vital teeth. Let's see what are the partial veneer crowns available. So for posterior teeth, there is a 3/4 crown, there is a reverse 3/4 crown, mesial half crown and 7/8 crown. For anterior teeth, we have 3/4 crowns and pin ledge restorations. So the first type of partial veneer crown is a 3/4 crown. From the diagram, you can see that 3/4 of the tooth structure is prepared to accommodate a casting. 1/4 of the tooth structure, that is the buccal tooth surface, is left intact. So that's how it got its name as 3/4 crown. So except the buccal surface, all other surfaces including the occlusal surface is prepared and a casting is given which looks similar to a complete crown from the lingual aspect. So in such cases, as the retention is compromised, we'll have to add some supplementary retentive aids. So for this, axial retentive grooves are given. So in anterior tooth, the axial grooves will be parallel to the incisal 1/2 to 2/3 of the facial surface. For posterior tooth, the axial groove will be parallel to long axis of the tooth. The second type of partial veneer crown is a modification of the 3/4 crown. This is called as a reverse 3/4 crown. So in reverse 3/4 crown, the tooth surface which is left intact is the lingual surface. In 3/4 crown, it's the buccal surface. In reverse 3/4 crown, it is the lingual surface which is left intact. So it is the ulta of 3/4 crown. So in abutments with severe lingual tilt, the intact lingual surface will help in conservation of tooth structure, because if we have to align the lingual tilt, then too much of tooth structure will be lost. So in such cases, we prefer a reverse 3/4 crown. So it also restores the occlusal and axial surfaces of the tooth except the lingual surface. So the next type of partial veneer crown is a mesial half crown, also known as proximal half crown. So this again is a modification of 3/4 crown. Here the distal surface is left intact. In 3/4, buccal surface is left intact. Reverse 3/4, lingual surface is left intact, and proximal half crown, distal surface is left intact. So this is usually given in cases where a tilted molar is to be used as a FPD abutment. So in cases where there is a tilt in the molar, the distal surface is untouched and preparation is carried out only on other surfaces. But this can be given only if there is no caries and the oral hygiene of the patient is absolutely great. Otherwise, if there is a single blemish on the distal surface, we'll have to give a complete crown. Next is a 7/8 crown. In 3/4 crown, whole of the buccal surface is left intact. But in 7/8 crown, only mesial half of the buccal surface is left intact. The distal half of the buccal surface will be prepared. So therefore, the mesial aspect of the preparation resembles that of a 3/4 crown, and distal aspect of the preparation resembles that of a complete crown. So these are indicated in maxillary premolars and molars to serve as an abutment for FPD. So the last type of partial veneer crown is a pin ledge preparation. So this is given only for anterior tooth. So in anterior teeth, we give a combination of pinholes and ledges. That's how it got its name. So you can see from the diagram how the preparation is carried out. First, depth grooves are given, then the lingual aspect of the tooth is prepared. Then we give 2 ledges, one on the cervical and one on the incisal aspect. Then we give pinholes on the ledges. So that's how the pin ledge preparation is done. So it's given only for the lingual surface. The pins basically give retention for the restoration, and the depth of the pin will be 2 mm into the dentin. These are given in cases where the tooth has to be used as a fixed partial denture abutment, in cases of periodontally compromised tooth where splinting is required, or as a single restoration where only the lingual surface of the tooth is prepared. That's all about complete and partial veneer crowns. I hope you all understood. You can get back to us if any doubts. Thank you.